I'm on my way to my Father, but I will return.
In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and I bear witness that Muhammad is his messenger. Assalamu alaikum. I am Karriem Allah, and I am directly from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, who sits on the throne of universal power and dominion. Thank you for taking time to view this very important message in this critical time. In the Holy Quran in Surah 3, verses 100 and 101, Allah states, O you who believe, if you obey a party from among those who have been given the book, they will turn you back as disbelievers after your belief. And how can you disbelieve while to you are recited the messages of Allah, and among you is his messenger? And whoever holds fast to Allah, he indeed is guided to the right path. Now, many of you may not believe that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is physically alive and is on the great mother plane, known in this world as the UFO or UFOs. Most people believe that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad died in 1975. This is what encyclopedias will state. However, these same encyclopedias provide information that proves that UFOs are in fact a reality. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad began teaching on the Great Mother Plane as early as the 1930s. And the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has continued to teach about the presence, origin, and purpose of the Great Mother Plane and its 1,500 bombing planes or baby planes, baby UFOs. So I encourage you to avail yourselves to this information and knowledge. In this brief message, we want to deal with the crucifixion of the Messiah, the Honorable Louis Farrakhan, particularly aspects of the storyline contained in the Gospels in the Bible. Mark 14 describes how the disciples scattered and fled from Jesus during this most critical time in his life. Now, according to the Bible, Jesus knew that some of his actions would break the desire of his disciples to support him. This is stated in Mark 14. And Jesus saith unto them, All ye shall be offended because of me this night. For it is written, I will smite the shepherd, and the sheep shall be scattered. But after that I am risen, I will go before you into Galilee. Now notice that Jesus did not say, some of ye shall be offended. He said, all ye shall be offended because of me. Now to offend means to irritate, annoy, anger, or cause us some type of resentful displeasure. For example, we tend to take offense to a person's behavior when we do not understand why this person is acting in a way that seems contrary to what is right and what is correct. Now, Jesus does not speak of dying or being killed. He mentions the prophecy written in Zechariah chapter 13 in the verse 7. Awake, O sword, against my shepherd, and against the man that is my fellow, saith the Lord of hosts, smite the shepherd, and the sheep shall be scattered. So Jesus, speaking in Mark, is talking about the fulfillment of what the old prophet, in this case Zechariah, wrote thousands of years before Jesus came along. Now, smite does not mean slay. Smite means to strike or hit hard. Most of us at some point in time during our childhood was smitten by one of our parents. Therefore, smite indicates an attack against Jesus, which he affirms that he will arise from. And just the same, arisen or arise does not mean that Jesus is arising from a physical death. If this were so, perhaps he would have stated, I will be resurrected from death and go before you in Galilee. But he didn't say that. So if we tie arisen to the context where he states that ye shall be offended of me this night, then he is arising from that which the disciples and others would be offended of concerning him. This is why he stated again that he would meet them later in Galilee. Continuing with this narrative in the Gospel of Mark, the disciples boldly declare that they would not be offended and would not deny Jesus. But Jesus knew better. He insisted that they would. Why didn't the disciples ask, why would we be offended? What have you done? They didn't ask that question. According to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, there are some prophecies that's written in the scriptures that must be fulfilled. And I think the one that we'll be most joyous about is the end of this satanic world, because that's prophesied to be destroyed, and that destruction is underway. However, there are other prophecies that Allah desires to beat or even avert. This relates to the dire need to view the scriptures as prophecies which tell us of the things that we are going through right now and will go through in the future. Most people believe that we live in the last days. Well, the last days are written of in these books. If this is so, of course, and it is, then what does the prophecy say about the behaviors that will be prevalent during this time? So if we can change the behaviors that bring the horrific experiences that's prophesied to come upon us during these last days, then we can avert experiencing these horrific events and this great horror that Jesus himself prophesies will occur at this time. So why should we not desire to beat or better the prophecy of Zechariah 13:7? Taking that prophecy from strike the shepherd and the sheep will scatter, to strike the shepherd and the sheep will unite and fight as a solid wall. Now, Mark 9 also describes, or the Gospel of Mark, we're dealing with the Gospel of Mark. I just read from the 14th chapter, but Mark 9 also describes the behavior that could lead to our scattering during the events involving the Honorable Louis Farrakhan's imminent departure to the great mother plane. It states in verses 38 and 39, and John answered, saying, Master, we saw one casting out devils in thy name, and he followeth not us. And we forbade him, because he followeth not us. But Jesus said, Forbid him not, for there is no man which shall do a miracle in my name that can lightly speak evil of me. For he that is not against us is on our part, meaning our side, or with us in some translations. So let us consider this. Given that the disciples saw others doing a great work in Jesus' name, what was their problem? The phrase, he followeth not us, shows that the disciples held a sense of exclusivity when it came to Jesus. They were somewhat arrogant, territorial, rambunctious, and even gangster-like in their misjudgment of others. Well, Jesus had to reprimand them to leave the other people alone and let them continue to work in his name. Jesus further explained that such persons were doing a good work and not speaking evil of him, not even in the slightest manner. In the Gospel of John, Jesus states, "And other sheep I have, which are not of this fold, them I must also bring. And they shall hear my voice, and there shall be one fold and one shepherd." That's eventually, because the Messiah is a unifying force to unite the believers in God. From what we consider to be all faiths, or the various faiths, there's really just one faith. So he has to discard the man-made divisions in order to unite the believers in God. Well, this verse sheds light on one of the greatest challenges that those who believe in Christ face today, whether in mosque, study groups, churches, temples, or synagogues. This formidable obstacle is to refrain from judging others because they may not believe quite the same way that we believe. And the sinister satanic leaders have used this immature behavior among believers against us, having us tear each other apart. How do we who believe in the Honorable Louis Farrakhan keep ourselves from being scattered? In Surah 37, titled "Those Ranging in Ranks," it states, "And there is none of us but has an assigned place, and verily we are ranged in ranks. When we desert or leave or abort our assigned places, then the result of the Messiah being smitten is the chaotic scattering among those who say they believe and follow him." In Surah 48, titled "The Victory," this is dealing with the Holy Quran. In verse 10, it states, "Those who swear allegiance to thee," meaning the messenger of God, "do but swear allegiance to Allah. But the hand," they don't say but, let me read it as it is, "the hand of Allah is above their hands. So whoever breaks his faith, he breaks it only to his soul's injury," meaning you got to live with that. "And whoever fulfills his covenant with Allah, he will grant him a mighty reward." What does faith in the Honorable Louis Farrakhan mean? What does allegiance to the Honorable Louis Farrakhan involve? And what are our assigned places at this critical time in the fulfillment of the messianic prophecies, again dealing with the crucifixion of the Messiah? Our assigned place is to follow the Honorable Louis Farrakhan's example. Since the Honorable Louis Farrakhan has not been tyrannical towards us, why should we be tyrannical towards each other? Since the Honorable Louis Farrakhan has not been judgmental and unjust toward anyone, why should we be judgmental and unjust towards each other? Since the Honorable Louis Farrakhan has not been arrogant, but has demonstrated profound humility, compassion, and honesty, why should we not do the same? Thank you for taking time to listen to this message, and may Allah continue to bless you and your families. Assalamu alaikum.